Hey,
Thanks for joining me today to talk about your feature film Urchins. Super excited to dive into it with you. Pun intended, I guess.
yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
So I do have just a couple of questions, but honestly, this can just flow, whatever's coming up along the way. But I'll just start and ask, has being a filmmaker, was that like a dream since you were a kid, or how did you kind of get into it?
Yeah, I was one of those kids that I think everybody, especially filmmakers, all put on plays for the family or grabbed whatever camera available and just like made videos with their friends. I had made like a short film with my best friend when I was I think 7 or 8, and I had kind of dipped in and out of doing stuff like that. But I grew up in such a small town in Florida that like Hollywood was not ever even in the realm of like reality for my life or anybody that I knew. So even the high school I went to, like we had a TV production program, but it was like all about doing the news. So like, and my parents really pushed into me to do a more, standard path. So even when I went to college, we didn't really have a film program, or at least that I knew of. So it was just something that I'd always held in the back of my mind, but I wasn't able to like actually, um, find the path until I just started looking for it myself.
Mhm. Mhm. And what were some of your inspirations for your film or other filmmakers that you really looked up to?
Um, like I tend to like I get inspired by other films and filmmakers, but it doesn't directly um always influence like what I'm making. I mean, I thought that Lady Bird was such a beautiful film, and when I think back, I think it had to have something to do with like some of the kernels of like inspiration for Urchins, but really the main inspiration was when I was in college. I used to work a lot with like sororities, and I was creating videos with sororities, and um, it was me with however many college age girls just making these videos. It was very intimate, and I got to see what it was like to be somebody coming of age trying to find themselves in like the most, scrutiny type environment. Like there's so much going on, and I think that really informed like the character and her journey, because I was seeing it constantly for a couple years, and it just made me really want to write something that like explored that and what it's like
Mhm.
to like see yourself maybe not fitting into that environment, and like
Mhm.
that being okay, even though it might be like something that's pushed for or considered standard.
Right. And Brianna Edie, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name
Yeah,
correctly,
perfect.
she was so incredible. She has such this beautiful presence. And how did she come on board? Because also her kind of character journey is really beautiful to witness as well. So just kind of curious, how did you even get her to be attached to the project?
Yeah, Bree was it happened so quickly. I had reached out to another young actor who um I had just said, "Hey, would you want to do a reading of this and send in a self-tape?" And he was super excited about it. And he was like, "Hey, can I recommend a friend of mine?" And it happened to be Bree. And so he put us in a text chain. She happened to be in New York when I was in New York, and the next day or something like that, we went and got coffee. And it was one of those like immediately you kind of like connect and you see eye to eye and you feel like you're speaking the same language. So very quickly we felt like there was okay, we think similarly. So I sent her the script and she read it that night and texted me at like 1 a.m. It was like, I would love to do this. And I think the reason why she took it, because she had an acting hiatus. She kind of like took a break from acting projects, and I think she really wanted to come back into something that she really believed in. And I know that she really resonated with that journey because she had experienced something similar in her own life.
Mhm.
And obviously not for me to speak on, but I think that that's why the she chose to take on the project because the character story, and I think you can see that in, what's going on behind the facade of like what she's dealing with internally.
Mm-hmm. Well, her acting was just so stunning. I'm so
Thank you.
excited to see what she does next, and um, the way that she has just like this very kind of quiet but powerful on-screen presence, and it was just really, I was really stunned. It was really, it's just everything was so beautiful in this film, especially the cinematography. I was so floored by it. It's so naturalistic and just so, I felt like I was there on this
Oh,
journey with
thank
these
you.
characters in Florida and everything they get up to. So if you just want to talk about maybe even how like the crew, like how did this film even kind of happen?
Yeah, and this film only happened because the crew was so great. We had such a small crew. It was about like 11 other people. So tiny for a feature film. And at the lead of it, my cinematographer Tom, he was just he was so perfect for the role and was so excited for it that I mean he absolutely crushed it. Not only is it visually so stunning, but you can sense when somebody's like in their element there on set, and
Mm-hmm.
he truly was, and he was going above and beyond and just creating such a beautiful dynamic, not only for like a comfort level on set when you have such a small group, but also like in the middle of the woods in Florida or on a river. Like it's really nice to have like a calming presence behind the camera. And Tom really did that. But it was everybody coming together and just like being on board for it, understanding that there was like heart behind this, and um it was about creating authenticity. So that meant giving the actors the time to like blend together and to try some things and to feel like, teenagers who were just on a road trip. So yeah, I mean, it was just being as flexible as possible too, because filming in the backwoods of Florida without like a massive budget means like you're kind of subject to the elements, whether it's rain, storms, or just other big things happen. We had a lot of things happen on set, so it was always just trying to make sure that we could walk away from the day and actually get the scenes, even though we were maybe fighting against, factors that we couldn't control.
Mm-hmm. Well, I worked in Louisiana on an independent short film, and it was kind of a wild experience. Again, like kind of small
Mhm.
crew, and as you said, you're subject to the elements, especially in the country, like in St. Francisville, small town. It's out there, so it was definitely it's
Was
a
it
wild
was it a
experience.
lot of mosquitoes and very, very humid?
So many mosquitoes, so many bugs, and at night, everything that comes out. I think I actually picked up on in some of the, like the night or like evening scenes, all the bugs and like all the noise. I was like, I know what that's like being in that
The
and hearing everything.
it was funny. We had scouted it, and it was not there weren't as many there like cicadas, and there weren't as many like it wasn't as loud. And then we get down there like days before shooting, and it was so loud. I called it like a symphony of them. They were just
Hmm.
like you couldn't think very well because it was so loud, and we were supposed to film a night scene, and we tried to build like a sound barrier around the talent so that like we could cut out the noise, but it was so loud that like you could still hear it so well on the microphones. And that was another thing of like, okay, so now we maybe need to rewrite some of these scenes to be in a different environment where they're still loud but not as loud. Because it's really hard to act if you have like that loud of a noise always going on around you. It just kind of feels like you're in like an echo chamber of like in your brain. I was like, we can't make them act these very like serious, intimate scenes while like basically a massive crowd is yelling at them. That's what it felt like.
Well, honestly, it didn't really deter. For me, I was present in that
Love
those
it.
scenes with them, but definitely I was like, okay, they're out there. Well, wow. So let's see. What? Oh, well, sorry. I just actually did want to mention that when you're talking about the elements and kind of shooting on location, you never really know what you're up against or what you'll encounter. That in nature, everything was so integral to the film, and especially moments of Ari's character just sitting in silence and looking up at everything and being like, "Wow, this is beautiful," and maybe this is what I'm really after. Really resonated with me. So I just wanted to kind of mention that as well. Like it definitely the nature elements, all of that really came together for the story too.
Thanks. Yeah, it is such like a natural love letter to Florida. That's how I've always thought about it. And it's the parts of Florida that like not a lot of people know about. I think most people think about Miami or the beaches,
Mhm.
but there is such a massive ecosystem in the middle of the state. Whether it's the springs or the rivers or these like very secluded forested areas. And yeah, it's like it's sad because it's also a lot of that land is starting to become endangered by some of the different developments, and it's really important, I think, for us to like maintain these lands, preserve them, not only for the natural ecosystem, the animals, but also just for humans to keep, this world as a like it's like a sanctity. It's like a place for us to go and be a part of like the world and nature. So, yeah, Florida's so beautiful.
I've never been, but it almost made me want to go after watching this film. It really
I'm
has like
hoping to
a
flip people's perspective on Florida. There's a lot of Florida hate, but there's a lot of beauty there as well.
yeah. And also I wanted to touch upon like like the color palette, kind of like the mood reminded me of waves and also like spring breakers. J- just like the color palette, kind of the world and everything. Did you particular like aside from Lady Bird, other films that were inspiration for like the mood board or like just the kind of general world building of the film?
We and Moonlight was also in there of something that we looked at a lot. When talking about like color and stuff, I think one of the big things that Tom and I focused on was knowing that like it was going to be naturally super saturated because we were spending time in these outdoor environments, like the the forests in Florida are so luscious because it's like it get so much rain. So it's just like it is truly just so beautifully dense. And then the springs that we shot some scenes in are just naturally turquoise blue water. Like it's the clearest, most beautiful water ever. And the beaches, where we filmed, beautiful, beautiful water that looks like you're in the Caribbean. So we knew that a lot of the natural like outdoor elements were already going to be so saturated. So we wanted to like complement that without oversaturating. I think like Spring Breakers kind of does an oversaturated feel to kind of add to that spring breaky element. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want this to feel like it was always about this like party lifestyle. I wanted to lean into the natural element, but complement it indoors with more natural like muted tones. But then, what really brought it together was we worked with Company 3 and an awesome colorist named Jake White, and we basically just we spoke on, we miss the saturation of in film. I feel like nowadays people are starting to desaturate more and more to create a filmic look at times, which doesn't fully track to me. And we wanted to maintain some of that, but we knew that we'd already had that baked in. So it was just writing those lines to make it so it didn't pop out too much in your face, but it also like created the world around it and felt very natural and like truly like you were immersed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, everything just cinematography, editing, sound, just everything was so succinct and just really beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about the other characters that Ari becomes friends with and very enmeshed with. They were so real, raw, and just relatable. Were they based on anyone that you knew in your life?
I think like I'm a big fan of creating like amalgamations in each of my characters. So I would say the closest to like a real life person was the dad character. I think I spent
Mhm.
a lot of time as a kid. For some reason I just connected with people's parents more. So
Mhm.
I would spend a lot of time talking to their parents, and the Clark character is very much like based in a couple like specific people that I grew up around, and dads that I would have those like riverside conversations with, or moms that I would chat with, while somebody's running an errand or doing a chore. Um, but then yeah, the friends Jack, Izzy, and Elijah, they're all just like people that I grew up around, and no specific person, but just like thinking about um who those people kind of are in these small towns. To me, they really helped kind of boil like a small town into like three very distinct people, and three people that probably would never leave that town. That was really important to me. It was like I wanted to pick three people that were probably gonna. I think a lot of people who come from small towns know this idea. There's the division between people who know they're gonna leave their town and then people who aren't. And I wanted to focus on the group of people who were never gonna leave this small town, no matter how
Mhm.
much they talked about it or no matter how much it seemed like they were ready for something else.
Mhm.
Because I needed Ari to come and meet those people, somebody who was looking to get out, looking to go somewhere, and to meet these people who had their boots, just like cemented into
Mhm.
the ground.
Mhm. Wow. Well, and the performances were so incredible. I was really blown away. I'm familiar with some of Ted's work from Fear Street, but the other actors, how did you find them?
Yeah, so Trey, who plays Jack, I don't even know. I just met him. I think he'd seen a film at one of the festivals that we played at, and we connected on socials. And then Sam, who plays Izzy, is a good friend. We had worked on a short together in a music video, and she was, a neighbor basically in New York City. So like we had always been talking about that. She was one of the first people that I brought onto the project, and she knew it front to back. She had seen multiple drafts of the script. And then yeah, the rest were either recommendations from people or you know, casting calls from Actors Access. I wasn't able to use the casting director for this, but I just yeah, I just kind of put out as many feelers as I could to find the people who kind of fit the right
Hmm.
tone.
Hmm. Well, you did a really great job because
Thanks.
they were really incredible, really wonderful performances all around. Um, so it's a miracle when a movie gets made. It is literally, my dad's a filmmaker. He's in the industry. I've seen it firsthand. I know it's treacherous. It can be so many things. And some days, do you ever kind of feel like what's going on? Like, did you ever feel kind of like defeated or, I mean, it obviously did get made, but it's a long journey.
Yeah, I think I mean obviously it's tough all the way through the process, but the hardest part definitely became when we got on set. It at times it felt like everything was working against us to get it done. And I think that that's just the nature of going into your first feature, possibly slightly underprepared and definitely under budgeted. And we we had 7 rain delays like our first day. Like you can't combat that. And we had also went in with we had thought about this. We knew it rained in Florida. Two of my producers are from Florida. I'm from Florida. We knew that this was going to happen, so we came up with contingency plans. But then once you get there, you realize, oh wait, we can't do this out of safety because
Mm-hmm.
lightning. Every rainstorm in Florida basically comes with lightning.
Hmm.
And if you have lightning, then you shouldn't be working. And then if you try and work inside, we didn't have the budget to be able to like throw sound dampening carpets onto the roof. So it became like just every day you're dealing with new things popping up. A lot of it was scheduling. It's a very ambitious movie to shoot for such a small budget. So I think I always knew that we were going to be losing stuff, and I just hope that we never lost anything too critical. but I mean, not many people know this, but like we lost about 15 pages from
Mhm.
day one of the script or day one of the of production script, just to make sure that we could come out with a movie rather than getting trying to get like a small piece of everything. We focused on like quality of where we could. And partially that's why we have such a short runtime, which I love. I love that it's like a tight watch for everybody. I do miss those scenes though. There are some really beautiful scenes that if I could shoot them, I would totally would have.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, it's really a beautiful film.
Thank you.
Excited for more people to see it. Um, and I just kind of wanted to wrap things up and kind of ask, what is the movie that changed your life?
Um, Into the Wild, uh, by Sean Penn. I I actually inspired me to go live out of my truck and become a rubber tramp for about half a year after watching it. And I think there are just so many truisms in that movie and like just like realities of life that are explored, and it's such a beautiful film, and it really does like touch on the human experience and what it means to try and connect with others and be a part of like nature and the world. And that
Mhm.
changed everything for me as like a human and then also as a filmmaker.
Mhm. That's one of my favorites.
It's
That
so
that
good.
was also a movie for me and that I saw and I was just like, wow, this is something special and it definitely changed my perspective on how I view the world and what we're really here for as people. So yeah, that's such a great pick. Love that one.
Happiness isn't real unless shared is like, I mean, it's an all-time truth. It's
Yeah.
something that I carry with me in my life, and I think about that, and that's why like everything that you do, it's like it's about the people around you. And that's why it was so
Yeah.
important not to go back to what we already talked about, but like
Mhm.
every it was such a selective process for finding the crew for this because it was so important to make sure that we all like blend well together and that we could be friends because I knew it was going to be a difficult experience, but you if you have the right people around you, then it's like it doesn't matter, you know? And that's
Yeah.
yeah. That film though, oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, and almost in a way, it kind of can mirror back to what Ari is experiencing on her journey, sharing experiences with other people, finding out what being, a human means to her. And I kind of pick up on some parallels there. And I just want to say the ending shot of your film is so breathtaking. I was like, how is this even real? And then, with the rain and everything, I was just like so
That's
stunning.
That's what, thank you. That is when you know, like, it is actually shining on you. When people or when everything's happening and it feels like it's telling you, hey, you can't make this movie, you can't make this movie, and then something like that happens because that was all luck and circumstance. Like
Mhm.
it could not have timed out better to have that shot turn out as beautiful as it did, and it was also such a blast shooting that. And yeah, that was by far one of my favorite moments. Not even just on set, but like of my
Mhm.
life. It was such a beautiful moment with like five of us out in the water. So
Wow. Well, that's the wonderful thing about filmmaking too, is like you get those gems of moments that you couldn't even have pictured or imagined
yeah,
were possible. So
yeah.
it's really magical. And then lastly, what is the timing for your film release? If you just want to share some info about scheduling.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are starting a mini theatrical run this summer, starting in LA. We have our worldwide premiere July 9th at the Lamley Royal. Um, and then we're followed fast by a bunch of other screenings. We go to New York, then Chicago, and we go bring it back to the home state. We have a couple weekends in Florida, and then we go to Atlanta, and a bunch of panels and Q&As and after parties. Would love to see everybody there. And then after that, we'll kind of see where it goes. We're still figuring out our plans. As in indie filmmakers, you got to be kind of flexible to figure out like what's the best strategy. But I'm really excited for people to see this in theaters. I think it's so important to get back into theaters.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really nothing like the theater experience, and it's and yeah, this type of film where I feel like you definitely have to be with people to experience it all.
I agree 100%. I'm so glad you liked it. It was it's so fun that people are starting to get to see it now. It's been quite a labor of love for some time.
Well, congratulations. The film is beautiful. I think it'll resonate with a lot of people, and really wonderful, wonderful film all around. So
Awesome.
congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today, Adam. And best of luck with your future projects. And I'm excited for everyone to see Urchins.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Ellie.
Thank you.